If you grew up in the 90s or, well, really any decade before this one, you probably have this vivid memory of scraping your knee on the sidewalk.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. You went inside and you watch your mom pour this bubbling brown bottle of hydrogen peroxide all over the wound.
Yep, the iconic brown bottle.
And you probably remember watching it foam up and it's just stinging like crazy.
Yeah.
And you're completely convinced that, like, the intense burning sensation meant the germs were dying.
I mean, we all thought that.
Yeah.
And, well, the germs were dying. But we're about to explain why that famous bubbling action was actually your own healthy skin cells screaming for mercy.
It's just wild how long we accepted that pain as a sign of success, you know?
It really is. I mean, we have this deeply ingrained belief that if a liquid doesn't burn your skin or singe your nostrils or smell like an over-chlorinated public pool.
Right, like if it doesn't hurt, it's not working.
Exactly. It simply must not be strong enough to protect us.
Yeah.
We basically equate chemical intensity with safety.
Which is a massive paradox, and honestly, it's exactly why today's deep dive is just so fascinating.
It's a total paradigm shift.
It really is. So we are taking a comprehensive look at an extensive guide from Era Organics, and it puts two incredibly powerful liquids head-to-head.
Right.
We've got hypochlorous acid, which goes by the chemical formula HOCl, and hydrogen peroxide, which is, H2O2.
And the source material here does a brilliant job of breaking down not just what these liquids clean, but how they function at the literal molecular level.
Yeah, the science is amazing.
It really represents a fundamental shift in the science of sanitization. We are looking at what happens when you swap out brute chemical force for biological precision.
So by the end of our conversation, you're going to have a complete shortcut to understanding exactly which of these liquids you need to use, where you should use them in your house, and why. But to understand how to apply these solutions in your daily life, we really have to drop down to the microscopic level because their chemical structures completely dictate their superpowers.
Yeah, absolutely do.
Okay, so let's unpack this. I want to start with hypochlorous acid HOCl. Based on the guide, I kept picturing this molecule as like the ultimate smooth-talking nightclub bouncer.
A bouncer. Okay, I'm curious to see how you're applying that to molecular chemistry.
Okay, stick with me here. Imagine a dangerous pathogen, let's say, a sturdy bacteria as someone trying to crash a highly exclusive nightclub.
Okay.
The perimeter of that club, which is the cell wall of the bacteria, naturally carries a negative electrical charge.
Right, that's the barrier.
Exactly. It acts like a strict velvet rope, actively repelling other negatively charged molecules that try to get near it. But HOCl, it has a completely neutral electrical charge.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, it doesn't trigger any of the alarms, it just smoothly parts the velvet rope, effortlessly slips past that negatively charged cell wall, and then dismantles the pathogen from the inside out in like a matter of seconds.
That is actually a highly accurate way to visualize it. Because of that neutral charge, there's virtually no electrical resistance. And what's even more fascinating is where that stealthy neutral molecule actually originates. I mean, you hear hypochlorous acid, and you probably assume it requires, some massive smoke-belching industrial chemical plant to manufacture.
Right, it sounds totally synthetic.
But it is fundamentally biological. Your own white blood cells produce HOCl naturally.
Wait, really? Our bodies make this?
Yes. The moment your body detects an invasive infection, your immune system fires up and generates this exact molecule to neutralize the threat.
Which honestly blew my mind. I mean, we are talking about cleaning our kitchen counters with the exact same chemical compound that our own immune system manufactures.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And recreating it outside the human body is an incredibly elegant process. It's called electrolysis.
Okay, how does that work?
You start with a basic brine salt, just water and salt.
Literally just salt and water.
Just salt and water. You pass a specific electrical current through that salt water, which temporarily separates the hydrogen, oxygen, and chlorine molecules.
Oh, I see.
And that allows them to recombine into HOCl. The result is a profoundly effective antimicrobial solution that does its job at astonishingly low concentrations.
Like how low?
Well, the guide notes it operates at just 50 to 500 parts per million.
Just a tiny drop in the bucket compared to what we usually buy at the grocery store.
Exactly.
Which makes me wonder about the other corner of the ring, right? Hydrogen peroxide, H2O2. If HOCl is this stealthy, smooth-talking bouncer, how does peroxide operate?
Well, if HOCl is the stealthy bouncer, hydrogen peroxide is it's like a tightly coiled spring just waiting to snap.
Coiled spring. Okay.
Yeah, H2O2 is a heavy-duty oxidizer. It's made of 2 hydrogen atoms and 2 oxygen atoms. But the bond holding those 2 oxygen atoms together is highly unstable.
So it breaks easily.
Very easily.
Yeah.
The moment hydrogen peroxide comes into contact with organic material, that tightly coiled spring snaps. The bond breaks violently, and it sends out a piece of chemical shrapnel called a hydroxyl radical.
I kept seeing hydroxyl radical in the research, but I mean, it sounds like a bad 80s punk band.
It does.
What is it actually doing when it hits a cell?
It acts like microscopic shrapnel. It violently attacks fundamental cellular components. To give you a visual, it strips electrons from DNA, it disrupts the lipid membranes holding the cell together, and it denatures proteins.
Let's pause on denatures proteins, because that sounds like textbook jargon. What does that actually look like?
Think about what happens when you crack a raw egg into a hot frying pan.
Okay.
The clear, liquid part of the egg physically transforms into a solid white mass.
Right.
That heat is denaturing the proteins. It's altering their physical structure so completely that they could never go back to being a liquid.
Oh, wow.
Hydrogen peroxide does that chemically. It scrambles the physical structure of the microbe. But because this approach is so blunt and, well, chaotic, it requires much higher concentrations than HOCl to be effective.
So that's why we need more of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your standard brown bottle of household peroxide is a 3% to 6% concentration.
Which means it's around 30,000 parts per million, right?
Right.
Compared to HOCl's 500. It's basically using overwhelming numbers to win the fight.
Yes. And the chemistry of that brown bottle gets even more complex. Hydrogen peroxide is technically the weak diprotic acid.
Okay, diprotic. Break that down for me. What does that mean?
So D, meaning 2, and product, referring to protons. It simply means the hydrogen peroxide molecule has 2 hydrogen atoms it can easily toss away.
Got it.
When a chemical tosses away hydrogen atoms, that creates acidity. So a standard 3% household solution actually has a pH ranging from 3.5 to 4.5.
Okay.
It has an acidic bite. Now, the manufacturers stabilize the bottle with tiny amounts of extra acid to keep that coiled spring from snapping prematurely while it sits on the shelf.
All right, so let's connect this aggressive chemistry back to the real world.
Sure.
If hydrogen peroxide is this violent, spring-loaded chemical that shreds DNA, scrambles proteins like an egg in a frying pan, and has an acidic bite,
Yeah.
why on earth were parents pouring it onto our open wounds? My mom used to point at the foam and say, you know, see, it's working.
Well, she wasn't entirely wrong about it working on the germs. It does act as an initial antiseptic. But what parents in the 90s didn't fully grasp was the sheer scale of the collateral damage.
Your collateral damage.
Yeah. That famous foaming, bubbling action. That is the visual evidence of massive oxidative stress occurring in real time.
Because the spring is snapping and releasing oxygen gas, right?
Exactly. The extra oxygen atom breaks off and bubbles up as a gas.
Hmm.
But those hydroxyl radicals, the chemical shrapnel we talked about, they are completely indiscriminate.
Oh, I see.
They don't just target the nasty bacteria in the dirt from the sidewalk. They are actively attacking your healthy fibroblasts and your neutrophils.
Wait, fibroblasts, those are the cells that actually build new skin, right?
Yes.
And neutrophils are the white blood cells trying to fight the infection. So by pouring hydrogen peroxide on an open wound, we were literally burning down the construction crew that was trying to rebuild our knee.
That is precisely what was happening. You were nuking the repair team.
That's awful.
The chemical shrapnel destroys the healthy tissue lining the wound bed. That is exactly why it stings so intensely, why the skin turns red and irritated, and why using it actually delays the healing process.
Wow.
And if you use it repeatedly on the same wound, it causes significant tissue toxicity.
So we were literally torturing ourselves and making our injuries last longer. That is a tough pill to swallow.
It is.
But this is where the paradigm shifts, right? How does a wound react to hypochlorous acid instead?
The difference is night and day, mostly because of biocompatibility. Since HOCl is a direct mimic of the immune system's natural defense, your body recognizes it.
Makes sense.
When wound care professionals use HOCl to irrigate severe diabetic ulcers or serious burns, it causes absolutely zero irritation to the healthy tissue.
So no stinging?
None. It doesn't sting at all.
Yeah.
It simply glides in, neutralizes the bacteria, clears out the biofilm, which is that stubborn, slimy fortress bacteria build to protect themselves, and it does all of this without harming a single new skin cell.
And it does this unbelievably fast, too. The Era Organics Guide had some wild statistics on the speed comparison.
The speed difference comes down to that bouncer analogy you used.
Yeah.
Because HOCl has a neutral charge and encounters no electrical resistance, it is 80 to 100 times faster than a standard bleach solution.
80 to 100 times faster.
Yeah. It can destroy 99.99% of bacteria, including heavy hitters like staph, E. coli, and salmonella, in just 10 to 60 seconds.
10 to 60 seconds. And how long does hydrogen peroxide take to achieve the same kill rate?
Because the peroxide has to forcefully blast its way through the chemical environment, it generally requires 1 to 10 minutes of uninterrupted contact time to ensure adequate disinfection.
Okay, so to synthesize this, HOCl doesn't sting, it doesn't assassinate your healing skin cells, and it works up to 10 times faster than the bubbling brown bottle of our youth.
Yep.
It's the clear winner for human tissue, which naturally makes me think, I should just go pour my hydrogen peroxide down the sink right now and be done with it.
You'd think so, but the chemistry actually goes the exact opposite direction once we stop talking about human skin.
Here's where it gets really interesting. When we look at household chores, the rules of engagement completely flip. The way I started visualizing it is that hydrogen peroxide is your heavy-duty demolition crew, and HOCl is your delicate daily maintenance team.
The demolition crew is the perfect way to look at it. Hydrogen peroxide absolutely dominates certain areas of the house because it excels at deep, aggressive oxidation.
Right.
Think back to that violent bubbling action we just said was terrible for your scraped knee.
Yeah.
Well, that mechanical bubbling is incredibly useful when you're dealing with hard, inanimate, porous surfaces.
Like the grout between bathroom tiles.
Yes. Tile grout is a great example. If you have mold spores embedded deep inside the microscopic pores of your bathroom grout, you want that aggressive bubbling action.
Why is that?
The violent release of oxygen gas actually creates a physical lifting force.
Oh.
It pushes the debris and the mold spores up and out of the porous surface. HOCl is too gentle for that. It simply doesn't have that mechanical lifting power.
That makes total sense. And the sources also point out that peroxide is an absolute beast when it comes to organic stains.
It is exceptional at stain removal. Because of its intense oxidizing power, it attacks the complex molecules found in tough organic stains, things like blood, red wine, or grass stains on clothing.
Stuff that's really hard to get out.
Exactly. It aggressively dismantles the tannins and proteins that create the dark pigments. It breaks their chemical bonds so they literally lose their color.
Oh, wow.
That is why hydrogen peroxide acts as a highly effective color-safe bleach in the laundry room. It penetrates the fabric and obliterates the stain without stripping the actual dye from your clothes, the way traditional chlorine bleach would.
Okay, so H2O2 is for the laundry room, the moldy bathroom tile, and the spilled wine on the living room rug. But for the daily high-touch surfaces, HOCl takes the crown. The guide highlights it as the ultimate choice for sensitive environments.
Yes. Because HOCl lacks that violent bleaching power, it is entirely safe for your everyday fabrics and plastics.
That's so convenient.
You can spray it heavily on your Peloton bike, your couch cushions, or, a baby's high chair, and you never have to worry about the material degrading or losing its color.
And you don't have to worry about toxic residue either.
None. Zero residue. In fact, HOCl is FDA approved for direct food contact.
Wait, you can spray it on food?
You can legally use it to wash fresh produce in commercial kitchens. And because it requires absolutely no rinsing, once it finishes oxidizing the pathogens, it just breaks down and reverts entirely back into a dilute saline solution.
So it's just basic salt water.
It's completely non-caustic and leaves no chemical odor behind.
Which is a dream for anyone with kids, pets, or just a general desire not to breathe in harsh fumes while cleaning the kitchen.
Definitely.
But this brings up a massive practical hurdle. If HOCl is essentially just superpowered salt water, why isn't it sold in giant clear plastic jugs at every grocery store in the country? Why are both of these powerful chemicals so incredibly fragile?
Well, it all comes back to the physics of unstable bonds.
Yeah.
Both hypochlorous acid and hydrogen peroxide are highly reactive. That volatility is exactly what makes them capable of shredding pathogens.
Right, they have to be unstable to work.
But that same reactivity means their chemical bonds are easily snapped by environmental energy, specifically heat and ultraviolet light.
So the energy from UV light literally breaks the molecules apart.
It does.
This explains the packaging. This is why hydrogen peroxide is always sold in that iconic solid brown bottle.
You've got it. That dark plastic isn't just for branding. It's a functional shield. Light sensitivity dictates that both of these solutions must be kept in opaque or amber bottles.
So what happens if they're not?
If UV rays hit hydrogen peroxide, the light energy snaps that tightly coiled spring we talked about. The extra oxygen atom pops off, floats away as a gas, and what you are left with inside the bottle is plain H2O.
Just water.
Just water.
So if I have a bottle of hydrogen peroxide sitting under my sink from 3 years ago...
It's highly likely you were just storing a brown bottle of tap water. Hydrogen peroxide has a shelf life of about 1 to 3 years if the seal remains completely unbroken.
Okay, unbroken.
But the moment you crack that seal and expose the liquid to air and light, it begins losing its potency. A good rule of thumb is if you pour peroxide onto an organic stain and it doesn't fizz, the active oxygen is gone. It's useless.
That is super helpful. And what about HOCl? Since it reverts back to salt water, does it last any longer?
Actually, its shelf life is generally much shorter. Depending on the specific stabilization methods a manufacturer uses, a bottle of HOCl will last anywhere from 30 days to 12 months.
Oh, that's pretty short.
And just like the peroxide, it degrades harmlessly back into mild salt water when exposed to heat or light. So the practical takeaway here is vital. Check your expiration dates and always store these oxidizers in a cool, dark cabinet.
Right, keep them out of the sun.
Ideally below 25 degrees Celsius to keep those chemical bonds intact.
Okay, we've focused heavily on HOCl and H2O2, but I know you listening are probably mentally comparing this to the bottles already under your sink.
For sure.
If HECl is basically electrified salt water, it sounds suspiciously similar to old-fashioned chlorine bleach. Are we just talking about rebranded Clorox here?
It is a great question, but they are very different molecules with very different consequences. Let's look at traditional bleach, which is sodium hypochlorite.
Okay.
In terms of sheer raw killing power, bleach definitely matches HOCl. They both destroy 99.99% of bacteria. But the physical trade-offs with bleach are massive.
The fumes are the first thing that come to mind. I always feel like I need to open every single window in the house.
Exactly. The fumes are highly toxic and can trigger asthma and respiratory issues. Furthermore, bleach requires precise, careful dilution with water before use.
Right.
It leaves behind a harsh chemical residue that must be thoroughly rinsed off surfaces. And it is highly corrosive. It will steadily eat away at metals, destroy sensitive medical equipment, and permanently ruin colored fabrics.
So HOCl is just way safer.
HOCl gives you the exact same pathogen killing power without a single one of those hazardous side effects.
That makes total sense. Now, what about rubbing alcohol? I mean, since 2020, I feel like humanity has been collectively bathing its hands in isopropyl alcohol.
Alcohol absolutely has its place. It is excellent for fast hand sanitizing or quickly wiping down small metal tools.
Right. It's everywhere.
It works by dissolving the lipid membranes of a cell. But its greatest strength, its rapid evaporation rate, is actually its biggest flaw when it comes to sanitizing hard surfaces.
Because it dries before it finishes the job.
Precisely. It evaporates so incredibly fast that it often doesn't sit on the surface long enough to meet the required contact time to kill hardier microbes. For instance, alcohol really struggles against non-enveloped viruses and bacterial spores.
Wait, non-enveloped viruses. What does the envelope mean in this context?
Think of a non-enveloped virus as a microbe wearing a heavy, solid armor shell, as opposed to wearing a soft lipid jacket. Alcohol easily dissolves the soft jacket, but it evaporates way too quickly to penetrate the heavy armor. HOCl, on the other hand, just slips right past the armor entirely. Plus, alcohol is highly flammable and severely dries out your skin with repeated use.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Let's bring all this chemistry together so you can optimize that space under your sink. Basically, you want to use hypochlorous acid HOCl for speed, for biology-friendly wound care, and for your daily multi-surface sanitizing.
Yep, that's your daily driver.
It's safe for your skin, it's safe for your food, and it obliterates germs in seconds without leaving a toxic footprint.
And you keep hydrogen peroxide H2O2 around for the heavy lifting. You unleash the demolition crew for deep cleaning porous bathroom tiles, physically lifting out embedded mold, and breaking down tough organic stains like blood or wine in the laundry room.
It's all about using the right tool for the job. You don't use a wrecking ball to dust your living room.
You certainly shouldn't. And I highly encourage you to go check the expiration dates on those brown bottles sitting under your sink today.
Seriously, dude.
You might literally be relying on tap water for disinfection. And while you are doing that, consider swapping out those harsh, toxic, asthma-triggering bleaches for a hypochlorous acid spray. It is an incredibly simple switch that actively protects your family's skin and lungs from unnecessary, heavy chemical exposure.
It really is a no-brainer once you understand the actual science behind the liquids. Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with today.
Okay.
For over a century, we've spent an enormous amount of time and resources engineering incredibly harsh synthetic chemicals to fight the natural world. But today, we just learned that we can create a world-class, hyper-effective disinfectant by literally mimicking the hypochlorous acid produced by our own white blood cells.
Pretty amazing.
It makes you wonder, what other harsh, toxic synthetic chemicals that we rely on every day might we eventually replace just by looking inward and copying the brilliance of human biology?
That's a profound question to consider.
Next time you open that medicine cabinet, take a look at the bottles inside and ask yourself, is this product working with my biology or violently against it?
Biology usually has the most elegant solutions if we just take the time to pay attention to them.
It sure does. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Go check those expiration dates, and we'll catch you next time.